Welcome to a new video on my channel. I hope you're doing fine. Today I want to give you an overview about Gogoro and their upcoming merger with Peoma Global Holdings, PPGH, since they have set their shareholder meeting for March 31st, and I want to give you some details about this beforehand. So let's jump right into the investor presentation, and on this slide I want to show you the mission and the beliefs of the company. And they want to put smart, swappable electric power in reach of every urban rider in the world. And they say that more people commute on two wheels globally. And they believe that swap and go is essential for urban centers. And in general, the electric mobility adoption is inevitable. Two-wheelers will drive faster global electric adoption. And they state that Gogora has best-in-class and proven technology and platform to do this. And with the right partnership they have in place, they will be expanding rapidly. So what does the company do? As you can see over here, there are two segments. One, the hardware sales segment, and in green, the swap and go subscription model. And so the main part is still the hardware sales, because they sell the Gogoro smart scooters. These are branded smart scooters, or the other way they will be making money is to sell components and kit sales to OEM partners. And the last one is the smart batteries, which they sell, and the Go Station sales to the network partners. Because if they have an OEM which produces the smart scooters with the components and the kits from Gogoro, then they are into the network, which in the presentation is called PPGN, which means powered by Gogoro network, and refers to the swap and go ready system. So keep this in mind when we're jumping over the slides. So because with the scooters, they have to use the network, which then also leads to increase of subscription and also recurring business model, because if you can only use the scooter with the batteries of Gogoro, you will use them, and this will lead to predictable revenue in the future. And as they state here, they have a 10+ year life cycle and predicted to be growing in the future. So in the beginning I said that the company thinks that the global PTV, which means powered two-wheelers, are a rising segment in this area, especially if they are electronically powered. And as you can see in the core market, which represent Taiwan, China and India, there are around 63 million units in general of powered two-wheelers, and they look to around 400 million users for the energy part in the core market. And if you want to focus on different areas, you normally focus with the highest potential. And in this case, they focus on the companies, as you can see, the countries, as you can see, which have a high penetration of two-wheelers. Taiwan with 80%, and Vietnam, Indonesia with around 90%. Whereas China only around 40%, which is still a lot higher than the US with only 3%. So they focus on these quite big countries, and additionally these are also countries with the most populated cities, because 14 of them are in Asia, and 8 of the world's most congested cities are in Asia. And as you can see in the picture in the background, there are a lot of scooters right here. So this is a good place to go if you want to sell these. However, especially if you're in the urban area, there is a few problems with normal charging of, on the one hand, EVs in general, electric vehicles, and also on the scooters, especially if you have a lot of scooters. So if you charge it via cable, it takes quite some time. There's a space problem. You might not have a charger nearby, or not a lot of chargers in general, and therefore the ideal solution, at least what Gogoro thinks it is battery swapping, and also I think new put it in place in China as well for the cars. So there's, I think, merit, and especially if you have the smaller batteries as you have with the scooters, then I think this makes a lot more sense. So it's like a kiosk where you can get the batteries and just get your old, or get a new one for your old. So this is what they address in this slide. So it's almost limitless range. If you can switch as fast as a few seconds, it's time saving, as you can see here. And also they say they claim it's affordable because the price parity at purchase is given, and then afterwards they have a lower total cost of ownership. And the reason being that the subscription to the battery swapping service will remove the battery cost from the purchase in the beginning. They also have an app in general, so they're connected in general, a artificial intelligence driven, and also they have some different parts, which I think most of them are not that interesting, at least to me. However, the diagnostics part is quite interesting to see how the vehicle has it in general, and for example, what about the lighting system, if it's still in place and things like this. So this is always good to know. What I also find interesting is this slide over here, because down here it shows the placement of the battery, and as you can see, you just have to open the seat and then you can switch the battery. And same is for the other parts, which are giving to the OEMs to produce the different scooters. And as you can see, they partnered with different companies already, and then they plan on adding 3 more for the different new countries in which they want to expand. As you can see on the investor homepage, they have right now 6 different models, and they look, I think, quite attractive. As you can see, it looks futuristic. However, the range of these are between 150 kilometers and 170 kilometers at 30 kilometers per hour. I'm not sure how much range this will be in the future if you use it properly and not with a steady pace, which is not given in a city. However, as I think this will be enough for most of the people using it. And then if you need more power, you can just switch it pretty quickly. So this is a good thing, I think. And also with the range being rather low, this is also good because then you don't need a huge battery to power it in general. So I think it's a good idea. So how does the smart Go station look like? As you can see, there are different parts where you can get your new battery and exchange it with a used one, and it's smart self-diagnosing, so they have an overview about the battery life cycle and also the power, and then they adapt how fast they charge depending on the needs in general. And also it can be used as smart grid. This might be something which also is interesting in the future. However, I think it's not a revenue source right now. Might be, however, an optional in the future. In which market is the company active right now? As you can see, their home city or home country, not city, is Taiwan. So it's, as you can see, quite crowded. And also they have a huge part of the general infrastructure over here. As you can see, they conquered pretty quickly a lot of market share, beginning with almost none in 2014, and then from 35 quickly up to 82 by 2019, and then right now they are at around 97%. So you can see combined on the one hand Gogoro as well with the powered by Gogoro network. And this is quite impressive, and as you can see, they have 840k batteries deployed, around 400k subscribers, and around 250k swaps daily. So this is a huge number. And as you can see here, around every 500 meters in Taiwan's largest city, a Go station. So this is very nearby. So it's really nice, and also I think they serve their mission, at least for Taiwan right now. So I showed this slide before, however, it's a good introduction to the next part, the recurring revenue model. And as you can see, the life cycle is estimated to at least 10 years, and around 50% of the revenue comes from the upfront hardware sale, and then the other 50% is the recurring revenue due to the subscription of the batteries. And if the life cycle is longer, then normally the recurring part will be higher. And this is what I mentioned before, that as they can see, the revenue by year, all the Gogoro and PPGH vehicles purchased must subscribe to a Gogoro network plan to use the vehicle. So this is something to keep in mind, and they show how different cohorts have different full year maximum revenue, and this is increasing by time. So about the expansion and the expansion plans, as mentioned before, they have around 90% penetration in Taiwan already. So what's next? After Taiwan, then the plan is to go to China, or they have been expanding to China already, and they want to expand to India in 2022, and then afterwards in the Southeast Asia region. However, there are no details yet. And why does it make sense to go in these countries? And as you can see, there's always the comparison between Taiwan and the other countries. China has the largest global EPTV, PW market, and the electronic two-wheeler penetration is around 70%. Therefore, there's a huge TAM which they can tap into, and India is the fastest growing PTV market globally, and the penetration of electric two-wheelers is less than 1%. And as you can see, there's a huge part of two-wheelers which can be electrified. And they target to launch in Q4 of 2022. And I think they launched already in China. I'm not 100% sure, however, they plan to launch it in Q4 of 2021. Yep, so just some overview about the tailwinds from the policies. There's the subsidies in India, and the goal to get to 80% of electric two-wheelers by 2030. And also the professional deliveries have to be 100% electrified. To be able to expand, you need good partners, and they have leading vehicle OEMs in China and also in India, which have committed to the battery swapping. And as you can see together in the Chinese OEMs have around 34% of the market share in China, and the Indian partner has around 37% market share in India. So with these three companies, they get a lot of market share in the areas, and therefore, on the one hand, a part for the hardware sale, and on the other hand, the revenue by the battery swap system, or the swap and go system. What is the model look like, or what does the model look like in the different countries? And they use what they call the swap company model. So on the one hand, they have the local OEMs, and on the other hand, you have Gogoro, and in between there's a local joint venture, which is a swap company in this case, and the swap company owns, finances, and operates the network, and Gogoro receives upfront revenue from the hardware sales, and then the ongoing fees for the subscription revenue model. So it's a win-win situation for both, since the OEM has the distribution and the brand in the different areas, and they have the local support and the operations. go one step further for the different countries, as you can see down here, there are the projected PPGN sales as parts of Yaida and DCJ's sales in China, and as you can see right now, they plan to have less than 10% in 2024 of the overall sold vehicles from these two joint OEMs. So it's not that high, and even then it's quite a lot. Same goes for India. However, it's not that huge of a number. It's still around 3% of the Hero Motor Corp, and this leads to around 175,000 sales. The next part to look at is the revenue, or the projected revenue, and as you can see, they have been declining from 2019 to 2020. I think it's due to the ongoing pandemic. Also 2021 should be lower. However, a good sign is that they have reported the unaudited 2021 revenue, which exceeded prior projected revenue by approximately 10%. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any more numbers than this. However, they still stated it's approximately more than 10% higher than the initial projected 327 millions. So this is always good if they beat their initial projections. And afterwards, they plan to increase the revenue drastically from 500 in 2022 to around 925 in 2023, and then up to 1.7 billion in 2024. As you can see, the hardware sales is light green, which is rising a lot faster than the battery swapping subscription, and down there in blue, the Taiwan branded vehicle sales is also increasing. However, it's still lower than the enabling hardware. They also plan to have more than half of the revenues in 2024 in China, and the other half, or almost half, is in Taiwan. So keep this in mind, and they plan to have cumulative around 3 billion subscribers in 2024. The company also provides some overview about the financials, which they project in the future. And as you can see, the declining revenues from 2019 on, and afterwards the huge increase with a CAGR of around 75% in the coming years. However, as you can see, the hardware EBITDA is pretty slim. So keep this in mind. Even though the revenue is high in this segment, there's only a marginal EBITDA, a low margin of EBITDA. The battery swap, this is where the EBITDA comes from. However, if you subtract the capex from the EBITDA, then they have, I think we could call this free cash flow for this business model of around 82 million in 2024. So it's a tiny part, and it will take some time, and I also think good developments to get these numbers right. One thing to mention here is the capex. So they have around 130 million capex in 2021, and plan to increase it to around 140 in 2022. So this is something to keep in mind, because we will coming back to this later. And this will be when we have a look at the transaction overview. As you can see, the cash to balance sheet is around 560 million. And if you have a look at the capex from before, there was around 120 to 140 million. So they have more than 3 years of capex at hand. This is a good sign. So they might probably not need any funding for the next years until they potentially will be cash flow positive. So this is a good sign. And the Peoma valuation is around 2.35 billion, whereas the SPAC, the public SPAC part, will be around 13% of the company, and in this slide it's around 10% pipe. However, there has been an increased pipe to around 295 million, which will be a good sign for the fast de-SPACing process. And also it's a good sign if the pipe will get increased, so this might help the share price to stay above $10, or at least there are a lot of companies which are willing to invest in the company with this valuation, giving a $10 share price. However, I'm not sure how the structure is for the pipes. The last part I want to go into is the risk factors, which they presented in the beginning. On the one hand, they show that they rely on limited number of vendors, especially and manufacturers, as you can see in the different parts for the planned expansion in China and Asia and India. Keep this in mind, and also if they fail to expand in different new areas like China and India, then the revenues and the business may be negatively affected. Sure. They're also sensitive to disruption of supply chain and shortages. So this is always a problem right now, and especially for the lithium ion cells metals. So this is something to keep an eye on. And the last thing which I want to point out on this side is the strong competition for its products and services from a growing list of established and new competitors. However, they didn't mention any in this presentation, therefore would be interesting what their competitors are. And then the last part is the EV market, which right now gets rebates and tax credits. So if these rebates and subsidies will reduce or even be eliminated, then this might also negatively affect the company. So in general, I like the overview of the risk factors. And to sum it up, I think the company will be in a good spot to get a lot of growth in these areas. And I think their business model is sound, and I really like it in general. However, I'm not sure if they can scale as fast as they want. I hope it for them. I'm also not sure how easy it is to offer some similar subscription models with the competitors, as I mentioned before. I'm not sure if this might be easy to then have pricing problems for Gogoro, or if they will have to lower their margin or something like that. So this is something to keep in mind, and should be interesting to see how it develops in general. However, as I mentioned before, I'm not investing right now in the companies before the de-SPAC, so I will have a look at least 1 or 2 quarters and see how the company performs, especially given the fact that they have been declining revenues. Pretty sure it's from the ongoing pandemic, but still this is something to keep in mind, and this also might slow their growth in the future. Positive point is that they raised exceeded the initial projections by around 10% for this year. So it's a good sign for the future that they might in general have a good overview about their projections, or maybe add projections which are on the lower side. So they might surprise on the positive side. So to finish it up, I want to show you the share price right now. Nothing changed. There's been almost no difference right here. Will be interesting to see what it will behave like in the few days before the business the proposed business combination, because the pipe has been increased, and I think there might be might be a good sign for the share price in general. And also, if you have a look at the warrants, which have increased in price since mid-March, so it's also a good sign for the upcoming merger, I think. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how this plays out, and hope you liked the video. Until next time, have a good day. Bye bye.